started. There it is. Well, good afternoon, good evening, bienvenidos, one and all. I'm Sandy Yannone, your host of Cultivating Voices Live Poetry, and it's the third Sunday of the month, which means we are here today, even though I'm without my deck for some reason, for our wild card open mic, where you all are the featured readers for a carousel of poetry from around the world. Folks have been signing up already. We have our 12 features, and we are taking names for our waiting list. If folks would like to read one poem on the waiting list, our featured readers will have up to 5 minutes for to share their poetry today. Well, as I mentioned, Sundays are always our wild card open mic, or the third Sundays of the month. But I want to give a shout out to last week's readers in our new book showcase, always the second Sunday of every month. It was, as usual, but no less extraordinary to hear the poetry of our 4 featured poets in our new book showcase. And I want to just give that shout out to Kathy Haley reading poetry on behalf of her daughter, Alexandra Zan, Delane Haley. Josephine Loray was joining us. Yeah, there it is. There's the heart for Zan. Yeah, for sure. Josephine Loray was joining us on location from New Mexico, doing the good troubadour work around in the United States. She's been on tour and will be continuing to do readings there in the state of New Mexico. Great first appearance of a poet I've been so enjoying getting to know, Jen Chang, poet laureate of West Hollywood. And we closed out with poet extraordinaire, poet laureate of Maryland Emerita, and the host of The Poet and the Poem at the Library of Congress for 45 years, Kim. She'd been doing that program. The one, the only Grace Cavalieri.
She's amazing, and it was such a gift to be with her, Sandy, last week.
It's always a gift to be with her.
Indeed.
And everyone. I take nothing for granted. Thank you, one and all, for being here today for our wild card open mic. We have 12 of you, the featured readers, and we are taking names for the waiting list. So please do put your name in the chat, as you may hope that I'll be able to pronounce it. And also, just a reminder that those of you reading in the open mic, if you might want to just, as you're introducing yourself, just saying hi, just give us a little shout out as to where you're joining us from, if you remember as such. Well, just a couple other reminders. A reminder, of course, here at Cultivating Voices Live Poetry, the chat is live for all the members. Please use the chat enthusiastically and respectfully to show your love and appreciation for the poets sharing their poems today. And also a reminder for our featured readers, as well as those on the open mic, if you believe that your poems would benefit, support our listening from a content notice, please do provide that content notice so that our members can make a decision, an informed decision about whether or not they may need to mute for just for their own well-being. We appreciate that, your attention to that matter. Well, our first reader, I love Julian Matthews' poetry so much, so I'm always thrilled when we get to hear from Julian Matthews. Welcome, Julian. So nice to have you with us today.
Hi. Share screen. The first one is called Adam. Adam, I'm so small, yet you can split me up again and again and again in waves of attrition, knocking us both out of orbit. But this energy discharges that winds us up also binds us, defines us. How easily we deride, decide to separate, how quickly we transform, transfigure, transmutate into us versus them, only to discover we are made up of the same stuff, a common whole of entangled, conjoined roles. A particle within a particle within a particle is still a peculiarly familiar particulate, possessing universal, constant, similar dispositions and equivalence of omissions. Two lonely ones on either side are not a zero-sum game. Two negatives don't cancel each other out. Two wrongs can't make this right. When we separate, we dispossess the connection to our authentic selves, the link between the ephemeral and the enduring, the earthly and the ethereal, the real and the surreal. I'm not the only one who sees this. Neither do you, many ones in a field of ones, universes unto ourselves in a multiverse of universes, stringing each other along, weaving in and out of each other's orbit, unspooling complexities of darned equations. Sometimes we influence each other's spin, sometimes we're up, sometimes down, sometimes on top, sometimes at the bottom, sometimes charmed, sometimes strange. But the center always holds, even when dualities fail, even when waves unfold and weaker forces prevail. We are merely atoms, so small, constantly vibrating, churning, burning each other. We decouple, disengage, detach, reconfigure. Sometimes our electrons go out of whack. Our protons, like fools, lose their cool, and quirky quarks reign. Yet in the end, I'm just an atom, looking at another atom, asking us to molecule again. Thank you. The next one is about a washing machine. I've started to emit a sound not squeaky like a church mouse and less screechy than a train stopping, but more like the croon of a cruising Kawasaki about to execute my own stunt. I sometimes dream of taking off on a run, leaving the drudgery of this wash and spin cycles behind, water in, water out, water in, water out, ho, hum, humdrum, agitating grunge and grime, sweat and stains, all this soapy, serial, binging and front loader, hot tubbing with their dirty linen and spelunking with privately, of course. But I'm no gent and only have shrunken laundry balls to show for it after every rumble and tumble like leaves at the bottom of an empty teacup, with no one to divine the meaning from all this cleaning. But I don't spill tea about whose underwear has been where. Besides, at the factory, we were sworn to secrecy. What goes in the wash stays in the wash. I'm too PC to be gossipy. Just glad I wasn't in the assembly line next door that was making WCs. I'd rather clean clothes than be a flushing commode that can only dream of being in that scene on Trainspotting. I'd rather be in Everything Everywhere all at once, the laundromat backdrop with Short Round and Michelle Yeoh in the multiverse kicking butt. Why do you poo-poo my ambition? I want to be a quantum leap digital spinner, not an analog detergent insurgent, nor your lowly sudsy servant. If only Simon had Appliances Got Talent, I'd get that golden buzzer. I'm a winner, not a whiner, a doer, not a rover. Come closer, listen in. You can hear the ghost in this machine sing. Thank you.
Great, that's a great way to get us started today for our wild card open mic. A little wildness there in the second poem. And I've never seen a person use molecule as a verb. I love that. Oh, great poems. That's Julian Matthews, everyone. Thank you so much, Julian. Great to have you here. And I love your screen share. I love your screen share and your screensaver today, that rainbow. Fabulous. Thank you so much. Well, next we turn to Ken Burch. They're my old hometown Olympia. I'll be there in October. I hope maybe I'll see you at OPN or something or thereabouts. So always good to have you with us, Ken.
Always good to be here, Sandy and everyone else. It's Olympia, and it's a day that's beginning to look like fall looked like here before the days of the perpetual drought, and maybe the drought's slightly gone for the moment. But two poems. The first one, the newest thing I've written, which I wrote a week ago, most of it a week ago in Seattle. I was sitting looking out of the window of a coffee shop at these rather distinctive trees across the street. It was kind of a corporate area of town, and the juxtaposition of the tree and everything, it was authentic, and everything concrete and inauthentic around it produced. This is one of my sunrose cycles. Trees across the street, branches, sunlight, leaves entwine, waves of wind flow through stained rags, too, worn by those who life harsh judge, sentenced to the street where passes everyone on every path any fate could find. On which map? Whose cartography? What pen guided by whose eyes? Whose eyes seeing what? Which imagined future throne? Which crown still not known, yet will seek sacrifices to itself, its own God, self-made. Self-made, yes. If by self-made we specify that to be quite clear, that all made means only now, self-purchased. Only what is owned as of now by those of random fortune. Winners, so it seems, until seedlings of some other trees place their roots and grow. Second one is a poem I wrote a while back and thought I had lost in the depths of my laptop, but I was able to find it again. And it's called Dialogue with Emily. I'm taking the line that people most frequently quote from Emily Dickinson today, the line, the heart wants what it wants, and sort of taking and doing an engagement of the words in its sentences, starting like one word, then two, and then three, and so on. The first words arranged. First words arranged to, the first words arranged to talk. First words arranged to talk about the heart within, the heart within each, the heart within each of, the heart within each of us, the heart within each of us singing, the heart within each of us singing that the heart wants. Heart wants a home. The heart wants a home safe. The heart wants a home safe yet. The heart wants a home safe yet wild. The heart wants a home safe yet wild. For the heart wants what? The heart wants what no. Heart wants what no clear. Heart wants what no clear eyes. The heart wants what no clear eyes can see. The heart wants what no clear eyes can see, and the heart wants what it knows. The heart wants what it knows may. The heart wants what it knows may not. The heart wants what it knows may not quite. Heart wants what it knows may not quite be. The heart wants what it knows may not quite be yet. The heart wants what it wants. The heart wants what it wants, and the heart wants what it wants and shouts. The heart wants what it wants and shouts it's. The heart wants what it wants and shouts it's fearful. The heart wants what it wants and shouts it's fearful dancing. The heart wants what it wants and shouts it's fearful dancing joy. Thank you.
Thank you. That's Ken Burch. When I listen to you, and then listening to Julian before, I'm just really struck today by how much I truly appreciate when I really get to hear a poet, their cadence and their repetition, it's their unique way of delivering a poem. I really marvel at that about you, Ken and Julian. I mean, and everyone truly, but I get a little fluttered because I'm familiar with your way of creating a poem. And it's extraordinary. I always love experiencing it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, folks, we now go all the way across from coast to coast, as we say here in the States. We go coast to coast from the west to the east. Always a wonderful revelation to be able to hear some poems from Mona Zamfirescu. Fabulous. Thank you for taking time out of your Sunday today. I know you've got a lot on your plate now.
Thank you so much, Sandy. I wanted to read a poem, a short poem this is my first homework. I thought you'd appreciate that. And then I have a video collaboration poem that I would like to showcase. That's just 2 minutes long. So my first poem is called Friends. How do you make new friends? He asked. The summer almost gone, like a dream haunting the day. I don't know why I turn away. In the yard, fluttering north, south, east, and west, prayer flags and the daily wash. How long it took to stop, to let go of the rush. The days are still warm and the towels are drying slowly, fragrantly. The moving frontier between seasons threadbare and light. No prayer is wasted, they say. Colored silk flying the 10 directions without compass or clock. Our neighbors can see them, he says, leaning against the fence, his bicycle sky blue, too small and worn. Yes, our neighbors can see them. The birds that gather around the feeder sometimes wander in, curious, scared, maybe. Fluttering through the house, forgotten cobwebs swiped with iridescent feathers, and the black cat watching us all. Sometimes, to gain a friend is to open wide all windows, and for a while, to send the cat away. And the video collaboration, this is a poem I wrote with my good friend Neil Daswani, and so I'm gonna share it without, oh goodness, no. So
Egret, white. Her presence, a pause. Whiteness, an invitation, a blank page. Standing in silent solitude, balance between earth, water, and air. Wingspan hidden until she senses in you a readiness to roam. Like you, she finds peace near bodies of water, yet will fly to air, carrying with her parts of your soul. When the time is right, return to ground she will. She will study patterns to the rippling water, the mathematics of swirls, the hieroglyphics to the ancient beat of water on rock. Messages before and after her maiden flight.
Luminous in her simple flight, only white feathers and black rock, slippery, mad-laced with algae and clams, wet with a mist of ages. Here I am with you, the ocean pouring over us, haze, white waves, white visions. Facing the water, the egret quiet as her reflection in the tranquil pool, poised and patient like a nun in prayer. The fish eyed and caught, gulped slowly, no escape. As we watch, white hair drapes my shoulder. The horizon line close like waves broken on this or other shore. Just the same, life will get us, just the same. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. That's Mona Zamfirescu. And oh my gosh, I just felt I don't know if you heard this, but I was at the beach earlier today. And what I love about the beach so much for me is it's the light. It's like so luminous. And I just felt like being with the egret was so luminous and so hypnotic, that poem. And of course, yeah, the first poem too. I really loved. I also really love that you shared something like very new, as and from your, from your endeavor in your new endeavor in your graduate program. Thank you so much. Beautiful, beautiful work as always. Well, we get to go north now, from New York and go up to Canada. Hi, David. So good to see you.
Hi, Sandy. Can I screen share? I think it's
Yeah, you should be able to, no problem, I think.
oops.
Yep, you're a co-host now, so you should be able to do it.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm from Northern Ontario, Canada, and Sandy, feast on cadence and repetition to come. One morning, I jumped out of bed and this poem basically exploded. I felt like I had landed on a literary landmine. So I want to acknowledge three Americans who helped facilitate this ekphrastic poem project. First, writer Roger Parker, who I sent the poem to, and he said, you should turn it into pictures. And I said, well, I'm not an artist, but I know some artists. So I contacted my poet-painter friend, Jill Badonsky in San Diego, and she was busy with some other commitments. So she referred me to Dr. Angela Kowitz Oroboko, and she wrote me back saying, I'm totally inspired by your poem. And she included 3 exclamation marks, which was kind of neat. So I sent her the poem, and she put together all these images for the lines. And I want to follow up actually on Ken's poem about Ken's Odyssey poem about the heart, because there was a reference to the heart wants a home, a wild home, or something like that. So I think maybe I'll add some more content to that. It's a wild heart daring to give unconditionally. It's a wild heart that breathes boldness. It's a wild heart pricking the stagnant status quo. It's a wild heart lion leaping at the truth. It's a wild heart saturated in suchness at the silent full moon. It's a wild heart traveling with global passport of passion. It's a wild heart possessed by limitless riches of rightness. It's a wild heart raven calling to a fellow wild heart spirit. It's a wild heart healing wounds from the reasonable. It's a wild heart ferociously pumping blood of bravery. It's a wild heart trying, retrying, failing, refailing. It's a wild heart army of influence coming from one heartbeat. It's a wild heart climbing tree of life to touch tallest branch. It's a wild heart twilight star abounding in brightness. It's a wild heart full of house guests, earth, water, air, fire. It's a wild heart refusing to freeze when fear chills the bone. It's a wild heart resolute in not letting doubt wedge its strife. It's a wild heart where grace visits the frontiers of grief. It's a wild heart stopping to give to birth orphans of love. It's a wild heart madly overjoyed with untold possibilities. It's a wild heart with an untamed, precious wildfire within. That's it. That's it. Oops. Okay.
Oh,
Good.
oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Well,
That's a litany of wild hearts.
well, you called it the wild card theme, so I had to.
There it is. I
had-
know.
I had
That's
to read this poem. There was no.
no,
I had no choice. I was hostage to you.
well, you always have a choice. You always have a choice.
No.
And but I'm glad that you made this choice because it was perfect for the theme. And I'm already like hearing like already today, just in the first 5 folks, already the convergence of themes. You know, I'm always astounded how we have no idea what each of us is bringing to the table, and then there's always this wild convergence. So thank you, David, so much. Thank you for sharing. Amazing work. We'll see you next time. Well, so it's such a pleasure to welcome Phynne-Belle. We haven't seen you for a while, and I'm always so happy when we get to hear a poem from you, or maybe poems.
Thank you so much, Sandy. Good afternoon, magandang tanghali, blessings. So, first poem is titled Departure. The term we have chosen, departure, means the action of leaving. In starting here, we create our falsehood. I resolve to remain rooted. When I decide this, I tell myself, I will this to be fact. I know I do not hold in me the outcome. Is this a softness on my part? A softness more to the recipient than to myself? Or does it make better sense the other way around? Can we easily interchange softness and weakness and still be having the same conversation? I do not know who to blame. If anyone emerges and claims the role of scapegoat, we assign the role of lamb and slaughter because we care not in existing uneasy and not understand who is to pity and who is to blame. We label everything within our reach, and here in this act, we can breathe a little easier. Is denial a conceit we concocted, playing gods, eluding our shadows as they chased us, desiring to press shame down upon us, the weight revolting, all too familiar, all too human? This, my dazzling fabrication blankets the dead earth. It looms briefly, shimmering menace, obstructing the light from the sky. Perhaps departure truly means remaining where I am already and allowing the wind to take me with it on its journey or blow me over. Perhaps departure means letting go and not following capricious pathways. I circle the nexus of my being, treading cautiously, repeating patterns, packing down firm. Meow. I love you too. I love you too. Sure soil beneath my feet. I plot this course again once more. Endless dizzying. I do not falter. My own gravitational pull holds me within. I will be here, stationary satellite of being, a freedom from seeking but not comprehending, a willing prisoner to a closed orbit of my own creation, and starting and ending here, a semblance of truth. And hopefully I have time for one more. If it's too long, cut me off, please. So this is inspired by British Malaysian artist Karen Koh's Fragment 1, 2018. It's called Blue. If my mother's country girl dusters wore their homesickness on the outside, they would dye and stain her body blue, seep into her bloodstream, a truer, bluer than blue. See here now, a bird bone, golden brown woman heart pumping indigo through veins and out arteries, each path a purging, a divergent dilution, a cleansing of history. They would seep out life force fluid and flood the kitchen floor, a further shedding of abandoned homeland, amalgamation of colonized milk pre-introduced, remix parts uneven measure. What is yours is mine, folded in with each stir, each stab. What is ours was never meant for you or your kind. You see, a mixture is never equal parts. It is invention, ingenuity, adaptation becomes accosting, appropriating, claiming, conquering. If my mother had worn her country girl dusters on the outside, stepped out of doors, sashaying the stars and rays caught in their hems, waved them like wings of a cooped up dove heart stirring, kubikinang na bandera ng bayan kong minamahal, blue-filled aloft, buoyed for a moment upon the current, the stifling air of land of the free and the brave, what then would follow? A battle cry singing in a lilting key of illusory peace, a bird clad in slow drifting blood sky, spangled star bursting stratosphere, may still be led astray, blinded, following the birth and death of a cruel father's son.
That's Phynne-Belle, everyone, with guest appearances from I love that. You didn't miss a beat though. You were fantastic. I love that meditation on departure, and how departure perhaps brings us literally to the place that we already are, that is its own departure. Beautiful meditative work today. Thank you so much. Great, as always, to have you with us here on the program. Folks, it's our wild card open mic here on Cultivating Voices Live Poetry. I'm your host, Sandy Yannone. Really enjoying the readings today. And I was talking in a little bit in the pre-show, I had occasion to have a little chat with Kristie Williams a few weeks ago, and had really been saying, oh, I hope I'll see you soon. So it's just been such a pleasure to be able to be with you for 2 weeks in a row. But today we get to hear from you. So take it away, Kristie.
Okay, can everybody hear me?
You sound great.
Okay, good. I'm in North Carolina, and I'm happy to be back today. And I'm actually going to read you 2 new poems. When I saw the theme was going to be possibility, I picked this one that I wrote for a friend. And it was kind of talking about the possibilities of our youth. And then after I wrote it and gifted it to her, we realized all the possibilities that were still left for us, even though we are getting older. So this is titled Girls of Summer for Leslie. Hours before dawn, we rolled in slumber, each breath a rhyme fit for what the highway offered. We tasted the first touch of summer once the sun found our eyes. Greasy fingertips shined as we pierced the aluminum foil bubble, foraging another fried chicken wing. laughing between crunches of Cool Ranch Doritos and long pulls from fog-kissed glass bottle baby coats. Bellies full, we planned our days and counted nights until our next crazy for Swayze marathon. These trips marked but a week while 3 months sprawled before us, and Jaws would have his revenge when you jumped over my theater seat, avoiding his dead eyes. I rode a wave of giggles until my nuzzled feet snagged a 5-second anchor, intent on evening the score at the bottom of an ocean blue pool liner. Sound lungs pushed us toward light, ears chased song, and limbs implored shadows dancing on window shades. We didn't know Def Leppard's cadence would become bedrock until, caught in a rush of time, we suspended ourselves in the veil between seasons, calling forth one last weekend, chasing pretty boys. You flipped ass over tea kettle, landing in my lap. And there we laughed until we cried, knowing we were being swept ever forward, far and away from girlhood. Life's push and pull would allow little more than spiritual proximity. Even still, tonight the telephone speaks wistful tones, and I am wrapped in reminiscence, entreating July. Thank you. And if I have time for one more, this next poem is about finding the possibility in having to face some things alone and knowing that you will be okay on your own 2 feet. Folding myself into an origami girl, each crease a word, on place, on purpose, with its own premonition. Thank you.
Wow. There's so many things in those 2 poems. But one thing I never, ever expected to see was someone rhyme something with Swayze. Genius. I also should mention that you did a fantastic promo for our Poets Focus in 2 weeks on the themed open mic of Possibility. Come back and read those in 2 weeks, or more Possibility poems.
Okay.
They're really fantastic. That is Kristie Williams, everyone. I'm never going to forget that rhyme as long as I live. I never going to forget it. Check out the comments in the chat too, please. Check out the comments in the chat. Kind of reminded me a little bit as I was hearing that first poem. Marie Howe has this poem called Practicing, about kind of that transition, that really liminal space of like girlhood before womanhood. And it was really making me think about that poem as well. Like, they're very, very compelling poems. And it's not often that that someone evokes Marie Howe for me. So thank you for that. Thank you so much. Fantastic. All right, folks. Here we are. It's our wild card open mic. Oh, I'm really enjoying the reading today. I knew I would. I went to the beach first. I think that really set my mind in the right place to come to the reading today, to just be open to possibility. So next we have on the open mic, the Artful Dodger, Harvey Soss. Welcome, Harvey. Good to see you. And a good reminder also, those of you who run reading series or have readings coming up, please feel free to put that information in the chat.
Yeah, I believe that can you hear me, by the way? Sandy,
you're good. Yep, we got you.
Oh, okay, yeah, I believe I put an invitation to our next Artful Dodgers reading on I think it's Saturday the 28th in the chat. And I suppose I might also invite you to Next Saturday's Brownstone Poetry online reading, at which Mona and I will be co-features. The first poem I have of the two that I'm going to read today, both about inner workings, is the final version of Colloquy with Your Brain Tumor. Why is it, you ask, that it never goes Dutch? What shares the cost of your medication? Your copay weighing upon you almost as much as the prospect of death does. Several more months of this, if the lump on your head doesn't go halvesies, you'll be selling umbrellas on street corners for your next fix of chemotherapy. The last thing you want to hear from those sad-eyed nurses bending over you like housewives over a pram is they metastasize so fast. In your present condition, irradiant as a bridegroom, you couldn't hokey-pokey your way out of a shroud of Turin. You try to reason with it. This is one hell of a state you've left me in, old pal, seeking, if not contrition, then remission. The wished-for miracle moldering in your closet like a spinster's hope chest, expecting at least an A for effort with some length left on your lifeline. You receive an F on every blood test, not the okay, all clear you were looking for. Must the big C appear so prominently at parties and on CAT scans that it scares your guests? You scheme to shame rogue cells into leaving you alone, allowing that you've cheated on them once or twice with irritable bowel syndrome, comparing cancer's brutality to the Visigoths' sack of Rome. My parietal lobe is yours, you concede, folding your hand, willing as Lord Chamberlain to fork over Sudetenland and to sign divorce papers predicated on abandonment, practically hairless as that film star Yul Brynner in his role as Taras Bulba, Gogol's Cossack. You beg, you plead, your brain tumor replying, not so fast, Bob. Your efforts at reconciliation, what the French might call a rapprochement, are rewarded with nothing but scorn. The growth on your noggin, a fifth columnist formerly the size of a tick bite, more and more resembling a nub of rhinoceros horn, of the sort endorsed by Chinese housewives for its sexual potency. And away we go, each new spasm of neoplasm scoffing at your efforts to survive. Demon cells, card-carrying members of the Chaos Principles fan club, dismissive of that laying on of hands, favored by oncologists and televangelists, your last resort being herbal remedies, placebos passed down from one generation to the next. Your clutch of protestations proves porous as a cheesecloth, a panzer unit of malignancy outflanking the Maginot Line of your body's defenses, a blitzkrieg of the big C. Despite perfumed promises of an afterlife, deep down you know that in the here and now, this is your Alamo, your Custer's last stand, ground zero. Diving into limbo's sea of souls, you'll hold your nose and shout, Geronimo, your T-cell first responders, your body's cops and firemen, having failed to save you, distracted by the thought that cancer may follow you beyond the grave, bushwhacked by those sociopathic, assassination-minded cells only too eager to die if they can take you with them. What tabloid headlines will refer to as a murder-suicide. And the second poem I wrote yesterday morning, it's called The Good Bacteria. These little fellows have built themselves a shire of hobbit houses, move-in ready, across the expanse of your stomach and intestines, waiting only for your wizardly hand, guided by its ring of power, to spoon yogurt into your gut, what a nutritionist might call going Greek. These are the neo-Nazis of irritable bowel syndrome, absolutists who would terrorize your constitution, your every loss, their gain. The good bacteria make peace, not war, distinguishable from those bad bacteria known to take pleasure in your pain. For instance, by tying your sigmoid colon into a Gordian knot, planting explosives in your subterranean shit factory, bad boys enjoying the shit storm that surely must follow, interfering with the peaceful transfer of power and nutrients, much as the January 6th rioters did. So you might consider stopping for a moment to recall this bacterium and that bacterium among the nameless that have lived and died for you without seeking the just deserts of burial at Arlington. Philanthropic microorganisms which, looking back on it, will have deserved your thanks and more for maintaining the esprit de corps of your digestive tract. Thank you.
Wow, those are powerful, powerful poems. Thank you so much. That's Harvey Soss, everyone. You know, I don't, if anyone is aware of, there's certainly been anthologies on responding to illness, but if there's any anthologies about like cancer in particular, I'd just be curious. And if you know of one, if you'd put that in the chat or send me a private message, I'd just be very, very curious. I don't recall that I've come across it. Thank you very much for those poems today. I believe our next reader, Alan Gary, I believe this might be your first time reading with us, if I'm not mistaken. And
Yes.
I'm not mistaken, I want to give you a most hearty welcome and thank you for joining us. So good to have you with us today.
My pleasure and honor. I am from New York City. My first piece is Love is a Pebble. Love is not a burden like Sisyphus. It comes not in waves like a tsunami. Its intent is not destruction to sink ships or dreams. Love in its essence is gentle, not rough. It shines bright, thermoluminescence. Love is meant to delight. It is easy. That is its might. It fights not within itself and cannot be wrong because it is right. Love in its ontology proves bearable lightness of being, because when we are seeing beauty and goodness, no need ever for apology. Love is imbued with every atom of every existence, yet able to be held in the palm of your heart. Love does not end when it begins, like a friend who exists and lives forever in memory. Love is weightless, so all may carry, yet filled with richness. It is true, never ambiguous. Love creates the universe, everything which is incredible, but not out of grasp. Love is a pebble on a blade of grass. Thank you. My next piece is Reflections. When I close my eyes and look through time, what I see are portraits of my life. I paint them with my memories on canvases which cannot be erased. Sometimes the creations are so vivid, I feel as though Michelangelo has taken hold of my senses, and the hand of God guides my hand, and I marvel at how I shape my reminiscences, fashioning my life. Seeing challenges while fixing flaws, because I perceive through wisdom of my existence what may have been trials were rehearsals for later times to learn the rest of the stories. Pictures I behold, sounds I hear, feelings I have, thoughts with resolutions or unfinished sagas now have opportunity to play out with new audience. I can now master encores with ovations anew, because these are reflections I view. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. That's Alan Gary, everyone. I know I've been in a room, I've heard you, and I know a different reading series, and I've heard you read before, and I'm so glad that you came here today to Cultivating Voices Live Poetry. Come back again, please, very soon. Great to hear you from New York City, land of so many poets. Well, there's poets everywhere, obviously, everyone. We know that. Fabulous to have you today, Alan. Thank you again. Well, we go across the pond to Gordon Ferris. I hope you're doing very well this evening, Gordon.
I am. Can you hear me? Yeah.
You're good. Yep, we got you.
I got to start with a memory poem. It's just a short poem. It's a memory from my childhood. It's called Walk Up the Street to Number 38. Steps to the end of the world I knew, leading up the street I haven't walked before. I looked to a known face, the face I could never adore. Prying eyes through twitching curtains, they don't bother me. They pry with sunken sighs. I do notice smiling faces on knees, scrubbing steps. How's your ma? She shouts. I just nod back and walk on. And now, this poem I wrote many years ago, shortly after making my first reading in public. I used to get very nervous, and approaching the place where the readings were, I would get nervous and walk around the corner because I was so nervous. I think the first time that I read, I let the papers, my poems around fall. I was that nervous. So one of the poets that read here on this show, Anne Tannum, used to host that show. So she was very supportive. So it's called Who Are You? No One Special. Through the lace curtain, I am invisible to the world. I am a mirror looking out, apart, safe from being judged. From the outside, movement can be seen, sudden movement, heads turning. Does anyone really care who you are, what you say? They just nod, go on their way. Before I walk into the room, I freeze, move on past, pretend to myself I made a mistake. The fear wasn't real. I just walk on around the block, shake off the cobwebs of doubt, and ask, why would I be noticed? No need to plan every word in advance or anticipate the answer. This doesn't make sense. Life is never that predictable. No one is going to notice you. Why would they? Who are you? No one special. And I'm going to finish with a reasonably new poem. As I'm writing a series of poems about my daughter being ill. She's had a brain tumor for the last 14 years, and she's had 4 or 5 different operations to, like, the tumor keeps coming back because they can't get rid of all of it. So this is the series of poems is written in 3 parts. Before she was ill, and when she was diagnosed and had her surgeries, and afterwards. So this is meant to be the start of the second part during the sickness. I wrote it shortly after my father's funeral. So there's no name on it yet. So on the church steps, with sincere condolences ringing, staring out the gate, looking for the signs of souls departing, hoping this will be the end of hospital wards, of drafty corridors, waiting for consultants to have that conversation in hushed sympathy. Too many times before has this same song been played, ending in the procession to the opened ready grave, covered in green. God, I hope this is the last for now. Thank you.
Well, that's Gordon Ferris, everyone. And, the heart goes so many places. I'm reminded of that today as we're listening to these poems of, ecstatic, the ecstatic and the contemplative, and the challenge that love brings too. So Thank you so much, Gordon. And also, I want to just acknowledge here you are sharing a story of going to your very first reading and practically walking by the venue or walking around the venue and thinking about that person who felt challenged at that time to now being here, person with your collection out, and reading your poems in venues globally. What a journey. And I'm glad you documented it. So thank you for sharing that. Always great to see you. Be well. That's Gordon Ferris, everyone, joining us from Ireland. Well, now, oh my gosh, I'm getting all choked up today from everybody. It's just so nice to see everyone. This is only our fourth program, so I'm getting reacquainted with everyone, and it's talk about heartening. It's heartening. So my heart goes out to you, Joanne James. I'm so happy to have you here with us today.
Hi, I am glad to be here too. I was here twice in the last month, and then I was too tired to stay. I'm going to read a poem here. Sometimes I bring a poem and then it's called, the title is Roots Twisted. Like DNA spirals, all the stories in my dreams, family trips to St. Joseph's, stepping around gopher holes in the cemetery lawn. We always got lost. It wasn't like they changed the place around on us. What is exhausting in a cemetery? The stillness requires you to travel great distances until finally we'd find the two families, the Irish section a few rows from our Ukrainian. We'd stand there a few minutes, dazed and uninspired by then, not much sense of respect or prayer left. So we'd pile into the car and head for Rose Bakery. My dad would come out with a big white box full of donuts. That was lunch. Confectioner's sugar and jelly, chocolate and cream. What is it about a cemetery? The grammar of the dead carved into granite. We always get lost. We want the sweet stuff. In voodoo, we need seances to read that grammar. We want to pan for gold. We want our teeth gold rimmed. I ended up, some reason, I have two about cemeteries. Panic tides and the footsteps of gravestones. How unlikely, elegant, in my used up car, out of oil, transmission, blah, blah. My father once rigged an engine with a golf tee and duct tape that got me and a shady girlfriend from Syracuse to Dubuque. Accumulation of trophies, wooden shells of them in the basement. Even gravestones buckle with panic and change, the tides. I never loved princesses because I was born in a dark cauldron. I've known sexy and I've known shady. That's what kept me going. That's when I was learning to throw myself onto the earth, my knees too swollen to bend. I wasn't blowing anything up. I was finding keys that unlocked grave sites. My parents' ashes now scattered in my sister's closet. Dad, there's been a lot of rain. I'm wearing those gifts of lapis and turquoise in this cauldron of tides. The soup they serve here is river water. Thank you.
Oh, wow, that last line got me. Ooh. Oh,
Yeah.
beautiful. Well, thank you. That's Joanne James.
Ooh.
And yeah, so good to hear those poems today. fabulous. I look forward to next time, of course, as always. And you know, truth be told, I take a nap. I try to take a nap before I come on, you know, so that otherwise I wouldn't probably make it. So thank you. Well, we go over to Colorado for Kate Wegrzyn, and yeah, you just saw folks in the chat that, you know, Kim Ports Parsons mentioned we are approaching, we're very, very close to welcoming our 5,000th member of Cultivating Voices Live Poetry. It's astounding. We're watching it closely because we have a little bit of a gift package for that 5,000th member. We'll kind of mention that online when it happens and celebrate it. We'll have a little bit of a hoopla around that threshold. But you know, Kate, I think Kate's been with us since like day one. You know, she might have signed up for Cultivating Voices Live Poetry before I did. So welcome to Kate Wegrzyn.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, you know, when I first met you, I said, any woman up in Montana standing out in the wind reading poetry will be my friend for life. Knowing the love that has been sent to me, when the call for healing energy answers sailing in many forms across my treasured yard, viewing open fields along Colorado's northern foothills, under the wings of ravens flying above. I answered the call for another's healing. An hour of hauling heavy hoses with my energies for you. I watered all the trees and shrubs at their roots, giving them a deep drink of water. Apple tree, ready to pull the apples for apple pie, but now I've salvaged all the apples as they drop in the wee hours of the morning before the wasps are there, and I take the good ones and bring them in to peel them for applesauce. I'm mesmerized out in my yard all hours of the day. I move on to water the mountain ash tree with berries that will bloom, and the cedar waxwings will be flocking them in full regalia, hanging upside down to cherish the berries. I water deep the lilacs, the shrubs, the staghorn sumac. I water deep the rose bushes surrounding the statue of the Virgin Mary. I water deep the roots of the yarrow, and I'll take the yarrow seeds no longer blooming and spread them further throughout this treasured yard. However we are called to give a blessing, we can give that blessing in any shape and form wherever we are, and give it with true dignity. The bunny colony and many birds of a feather patiently were hidden and waited as my water healing beckoned their return in joyful greetings. Thank you.
That is Kate Wegrzyn. You know what? I think I am going to say that you were the first person to join. I'm just going to say it, like, even if it wasn't true. Like, I can look back and I can see. I know who the first person that read was. Like, I mean, you were early on in those readings too. So, but yeah. Anyway, I actually like thinking of the idea that you may have manifested my sister and I even trying to do this so that you were the first member. I really think I like that narrative now. So I think I'm going to stick with it.
I would like to add one thing, and that is I had no poetry to read, and I was asked to be on, and Elizabeth Ann was guiding me through, and my daughter's Beau, now of 6 years living here with us, we're all together, but he was teaching me, what do I do? What do I say? Can you hear me now? Am I on? And all of my poetry was handwritten, and it was, how am I going to read poetry? And it's because you, Sandy, were up in Montana and roads were closed, I think, the weather, and you were reading in the wind. And I said, if she can do it, I can do it. And then, yeah. Well, wonderful history. Back to y'all.
Great history, great history. You know, we're all called to arrive when we need to arrive. I go back now to Phynne-Belle and think about that idea of departure. You know, each one of our readings is a departure because it brings us to where we are in the moment. I mean, I loved that idea, and I think it's so true for how probably each of us comes to poetry as a departure, which means to be in the present, in the now. So thank you. Thank you, Kate, and thank you, Phynne-Belle, for that really wonderful way to think about departure today. Well, we go now to West Cork. I think she's in West Cork. She's everywhere, as you know, Catherine Ronan. So until I see where you are, until I see you on screen, if I see the famous wall, I'll know you're in West Cork, but I'm not sure. So I haven't seen you on the camera yet. So I'm glad to be closing you out as our final feature for today. And then we're going to head on over to the waiting list. And here's one poem apiece from folks. Welcome. And my mom has just arrived just in time to hear Catherine Ronan.
Oh, hi, Mom. Yes, the famous wall is, I'm in West Cork. Yes, I am in Ireland. And the famous wall that Sandy refers to is 1895. So it's a real wall. It's not a thingy. It's a real wall. I'm just going to read one poem because I'm anxious. I know that people are anxious to get, and there are a lot of people on the waiting list. I had a poem published in my book, Elemental Skin Policing Mary. It subsequently was made into a poetry film that you can probably find online. Then it was picked up by Swerve magazine, Swerve #3, and the online launch was last Friday night, and that's also available online. And now I've just found out last Friday that it has been selected for Poetry in the Park project. So my point is, sometimes a poem that you think, well, it's okay, and then like it's picked up time and time again. So this is, I'm only going to read one poem. This is called Policing Mary. Auntie Mary is a strange one, full of Irish me-aw. She will only suck berries from a cracked china cup. Her hairy chin runs all the way to her toes, and she wonders about the commas of the world, surrounded by semicolons. She calls them lulas. I think she means lunatics. We both feel the pull of the moon. Tides tickle every wall. There's no policing Mary. She prizes limpets and cockles, naked-handed from rocks, refuses to go to mass, crunches shells during the soaps, calls for lavender at bedtime, whenever that is. Time is nothing. There are no sheets for Mary. She sleeps in 3 places. You never know where. There's no policing Mary.
Wow. My mom just said she loved that poem. So there it is. There's the endorsement. The Carol Yannone endorsement of the week. And isn't it funny how that happens where like you're like, okay, I wrote a poem. And I mean, I don't know why I'm saying this because it actually hasn't happened to me, but what you're saying about here's a poem that you kind of like, yeah, whatever. And then, you know, it like wins the Pulitzer Prize. That's Captain Ronan, everyone. We can all dream. We can all dream. Okay. Thank you all our featured readers for today. We have a whopping 19 minutes for the waiting list, and I want to get to everyone. So let me not natter on indefinitely and get us to our very first person on the waiting list. It's one poem, folks, and thank you very much for participating in our wild card open mic. It certainly has been lived up to the bill today. And our first reader today in off the waiting list is Pam Muller. Welcome, Pam. Great to have you here today.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Hi, thank you very much for this. I've really been enjoying this whole thing. It's fantastic. So it was my wedding anniversary last month, 46 years. And I remembered how it was. We were very young when we got married, and it was nothing formal. We were, we just did our own thing. So I've kind of made something of it into a poem, which I just wrote recently. It's called Our Hippie Wedding, 21st August, 1978. The stone church across the river is not our destination. There the bells ring for someone else. It may as well be a foreign shore, beyond the realm of our freedom. In a breeze of siskins' songs and thrushes' psalms, the creamy incense of honeysuckle wafts toward us, and white-tailed bumblebees fuss in heather bells. A flurry of pheasants in their finery rise from the field. Bog orchids and bog cotton wave among tufted grasses. Posies of bowed butterworts cluster between stones. Foxgloves stand as stately as bishops beside us, under a lavish canopy of wild rhododendron, confetti of petals scattered underfoot. We exchange wildflower garlands, loosestrife, sheepsbit, and clary woven with violets. On this our wedding day, we wear purple like kings.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Happy anniversary, by the way. That's I mean,
you.
I think it's actually very difficult to write the quote unquote occasional poem. And I love it though when people do. So thank you. Thank you for having that great example of when the spirit moves us, write a poem. Absolutely. Do it. And then come and read it. Cultivating Voices Live Poetry.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, that's Pam Muller. Looking forward to next time, of course. Well, I'm the next person on the list today. I threw my hat in the ring for the wild card open mic. And Kim, we were talking in the green room before the reading, mentioning that we're both going to be attending the Poets for Harris reading tonight. I'm not going as the host of Cultivating Voices. I'm going as a private individual. And I'm sort of reading this poem in that spirit too. This is a poem from the Glass Studio that was written in after the 2016 election. It's called After the Election, Oakland Burns Down. That night, I woke and wept for liberation and for a different ghost ship than usual. One not sunk this time by ice and greed, but extinguished by smoke and neglect. I switched on my bedside lamp to keep at bay the lack of light, which is different than discouraging the power of the dark. The dark provokes dreams. The dark fertilizes ground. The dark is my hand combing through my hair's unstarry night. A vote is not a siren, not a fire engine screaming to find a blaze in progress. A vote is a hand extended after smolder, after too much hate, after candidates said too little, too much, too late, conflagrates. I didn't vote to slap anyone in the face. I didn't vote to silence a people. To silence anyone cuts off the power to the lights, which, I repeat, is not the same as the necessity to enrich the dark. Never shut this window to a senseless night. Stay open to the hands that reach out, look out for you, like the forest ranger who lives alone for months in the watchtower under a single glass bulb dangling, searching for the infant fires before the juniper trees burn their old growth down. So that's just a reminder, everybody, please do register here in the United States and please do cast your vote. It's very, very important. Thanks so much. Now we turn to Nayma. Hello, 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 hello. It's good to see you.
Thank you. No filter. This is me. Here I sit, growing into my age jacket, accepting my invisibility, rebuking my fragility. Am I irrelevant? Wearing my wrinkles as a sackcloth and ashes. Should I reinvent myself for the applause of the social media masses? Twittering on Twitter, showcasing shells on Insta, scrolling and trolling, perfecting personas on FB, the photoshopping melee, a veil of airbrush sadness. I need more, because I am less, filtering faces and not words, subsisting on praises, captive in light cages, the eyes that don't see me, the ears that don't hear me. Should I put on my filter and dance to the hollow beat of a digital trance? A pound of flesh under the knife, erasing evidence of a lived life, fattening up my lips and arse, a fatted calf, as a stranger berates me in the looking glass. Are my eyebrows on fleek? Am I scathingly savage? Enough. Am I too woke or not enough? I log in and await your critique. Let's celebrate the cover, not the book. Post the pic as the panel rates you. Have an opinion and we hate you. Immersing ourselves in the virtual brook. I have wandered the London streets, donning my expiry as an invisibility cloak, as the gaze of the lit quickly retreats before dissolving into the city's big smoke. I have sat with Elliot as we shared despair, after shop worn, shared niceties over tea and cakes and ices, exchanging troughs and peaks as we laughed and cried, bitching with Bukowski, waving to Sylvia as we died inside. Empty voices filling the space with speech, their flawless faces behind a screen. Me out of touch, them out of reach, where reality in the virtual scheme I have haunted the void in between. Should I question the truth whilst believing the lie? The hordes flocked to TikTok, famous for 15 minutes, to shock, to rock, to mock, to exhibit without limit. But I am old, and the light in their eyes has died. Thank you.
Wow, that was entrancing. That was mesmerizing. That
It was just incredible.
it was just incredible. My mom said 5 stars for my mom. She
Thank
says thank
you.
you. She says thank you. Wow, fabulous. Ooh,
I
look,
love the way she read.
she says she loved the way you read it. That was a performance, actually.
Yes.
That's a performance.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nayma. Fabulous. Wow, everyone. This day has just been astounding. And just a few more readers, and we will be off into the rest of our wonderful world of poetry and what else we have. Next, we'll hear from Kristen Schettino. Welcome. So great to have you with us today.
Hi, how are you?
I think this is your first reading, or is this your second?
No, it's the first.
Yeah,
you guys had invited me, but
Yes.
I couldn't find it for. I'm sorry about that. I couldn't find
No,
it for a while.
don't apologize. You arrive when you arrive. I'm so glad to see you.
Yes, I came last weekend. It was absolutely lovely. I loved the showcase. You had such great people, great energy. Thank you for receiving me, and thanks for having me today. My name's Kristen Schettino. I'm originally from Bergen County, New Jersey. I'm currently living in Jersey City, New Jersey. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at DRK, Dark Art Empath. That's dark_art empath. So I'm going to share a poem with you guys that I wrote. It's called Tiffany. Hope floats, sex promotes, models on dope, young girls with no hope, flesh and bones, fake moans, wishing to go back home. Flesh tossed and discarded, bright futures once made, dreams and aspirations, intoxicating fragrance, to lie in a grave. So tragic your magic, I'm grateful you came. Broken tiara, promises of a better tomorrow. Get your premiums paid. The demise on the rise, young girls looking for fame, selling their souls just to get paid. Bright futures are broken in the lies they are told, slaves of sex for paychecks. Why didn't their daddies warn them? All that glitters is not gold.
Thank you so much. That's Kristen Schettino with debut here on Cultivating Voices Live Poetry. I know it won't be the last time you're with us.
No, it won't be.
I know it won't be. Thank you, and fabulous. Folks, I know that there's no one who enjoys having folks read for the first time. The person that perhaps is Kate Wegrzyn, the first person who created Cultivating Voices. But we always love it. And today we've had a number of folks reading for the first time. And I know that those of us who've been here for a while, and those of us who've been here for a semi-while, and any length of time, we always love when we get to welcome a person reading for the first time, of course, and we hope it won't be the last. So thank you so much. All right, speaking of one of those people that has been with us reading from the very early days, and now with a new book out, is Thomas. And we're excited for an upcoming new book showcase for you. I know we haven't scheduled it yet, but no fear, it is forthcoming.
Thank you, Sandy. Speaking of that, though, I posted a link. I'm inviting everyone to the Moon Path reading with another Olympian, Ansley Clark, and I, October 3rd, Moon Path book launch. Should be wonderful. Her book is Bloodline, and my book is My Heart Is Not Asleep. But so today I'm going to read something more recent. I heard somebody say the theme was possibilities. So I thought of the possibilities of souls following each other through centuries, the beloved following through thousands of years. Actually, while hearing the poet Aaron Abeta at the Fish Trap earlier this year, his wife had asked him how long he had loved her. And he had a wonderful answer that inspired my answer. While hearing the poet reading love poems wherein he answers questions asked by his wife about the length and breadth and depth of his love for her, who could I think of but my own beloved? There was that moment, that distant blue that shone through centuries and more, blue even older in your eyes, blue reflected millennia ago off the Euphrates, the blue Nile, the whole blue Pacific Ocean. When I knew I had loved you before there were Octobers and Augusts, before monuments made to the moon and stars, which were ours, even before calendars were marked on stones or bones, those thousands of years, before anyone had left Africa for Asia, before anyone knew the blue of the Aegean Sea and its blueness and stars were etched on stone and painted on walls. I loved you sacred before temple, synagogue, or church. When love was blue water in a green cathedral under a new blue sky, and the water fell from cliff stone into sun-sparkled air, became the dazzled light of water falling, as I am still so dazzled, as earth draws me falling incandescent for you now, as through all those centuries. Now, as then, as always, I love you as the blue water bends to touch the shore, as we touched our shores under moons and stars, as we loved again and again, all this time since touch began.
Wow. My mom says, thank you, Thomas. That's a breathtaking poem. That's an absolutely breathtaking poem. And Thomas, hey, Thomas. Oof. Thank you, my friend. Well, our final reader for today is Kim Ports Parsons.
Sandy, I
Yeah,
got a little message from our dear ambassador of peace, Isaac, who has a little something to read before me, if that's all right with you.
I think we can go. We are just at the half hour. I think
Let's do it.
Let's do
Mine
it.
is short, his is short. So Isaac, please take it away.
Yes. As a Cohen, picture. I am roaming the area. The stillness screams. I remember the lovely girl I visited yesterday. The waltz odor of fruit lingers in my nose. I think love can renew life like a phoenix and resurrect the body. The eyes of a little child will overcome all evil. Thank you, Isaac Cohen, Israel. Thank you, Kim, and thank you, Don, and thank you, Sam.
Thank you. That's Isaac
Isaac.
Cohen with a timeless poem, following a timeless poem from Thomas A. Thomas. And now our final reader for today's wild card open mic, Kim Ports Parsons.
Glinting. Just back there, the long gone marks of a small fire my mother built one day when we were hiking. We gathered sticks as she taught me how to stack them. She taught me how to wait for coals, singing a well-worn tune. She opened neat packets and deftly cooked for us, all the while teaching, naming the cardinal's call, pointing out the waving hands of the friendly sassafras tree. A glinting latchkey turned up in the garden, a mason jar before the fireflies' release. She was always building of kindness, her smile a shining coin, a flashlight under the covers, pale light of long gone stars, a blink in yesterday's eye. Love to all of you.
Yeah, my mom loved that one too. As did I. Today, here at Cultivating Voices Live Poetry, that's Kim Ports Parsons. A poem reminding us of the love of memory and the memory of love. They go hand in hand. They go hand in hand. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Before I make a few final remarks, let's unmute and show our appreciation for all the poets that we heard today on this, our September wildcard open.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thanks very much.
Thank
you.
Yay!
At the top of the hour, everybody, we heard from Julian Matthews, Ken Burch, Mona Zamfirescu, David Brydges, Phynne-Belle, Kristie Williams, Harvey Soss, Alan Gary, Gordon Ferris, Joanne James, Kate Wegrzyn, Catherine Ronan, Pam Muller, yours truly, Nayma Fabulous, Kristen Schettino, Thomas A. Thomas, Isaac Cohen, and
Yeah.
Kim
Love them all.
Parsons. So great to have all of you with us this afternoon, this evening, wherever you are in your time zones. A reminder that that closes us out for September's readings, but we will be back for the first reading of October. It's our Poets Focus. And folks, you've already foreshadowed, you've already been doing your homework in writing poems of possibility, showcasing some of them here. Our Poets Focus word is possibility on the themed open mic, and that will be Sunday, October 6th. And I hope you will mark your calendars also for October 13th for our October new book showcase. Some of you were here for the September showcase. You know, we kicked off very well, and we continue with that illustrious showcase. And on the 13th of October coming up, we'll be having Susan Rich, Isabella Bassamino Hoban, January Gil O'Neill, and Morag Anderson. That will be an amazing international showcase of poets. Well, folks, as Kim and I mentioned, a number of our members are reading tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern here in the States for the Poets for Harris reading. I hope we'll see some of you. It's rumored that there's close to 2,000 people going to be in the audience. So not that anybody's counting audience members anywhere here in the States, so we hear the news. But yeah, I look forward to you all continuing your quests with poetry and bringing them to wherever you can. Your voices truly matter. So until we see you in October here on Cultivating Voices, I wish you very well, and I hope I'll see you at some readings upcoming for the rest of this month here online, and possibly in person here and there. Well, that's it for today. I'm Sandy Yannone, your host for Cultivating Voices live poetry, with just astounding appreciation, as always, for the just dedicated work that Kim Ports Parsons and Don Krieger do, and to each of you for continuing your dedicated listening and showing up to hear poets from around the world. As I always say at the end of the program, please take excellent care of yourselves these upcoming 2 weeks until we gather again on October 3rd. Take very good care of your beloveds. And folks, just keep writing those miraculous poems. We'll see you in 2 weeks, full of possibility. Be well, everyone.